What's up, guys? Thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm Ryan Rich, and I'm so excited to bring you today's video where we're going to be going through and reviewing every story in the classic book, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So just like I said in the intro here, what we're going to be doing in today's video is going through the book, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz, and reviewing and rating each of the stories. First mention is the illustrations by Stephen Gamble, S+++, triple S. They're amazing. They're one of the things that made this book a classic that drew me to it and a lot of people, and that stick with you after. The first story we're going to be rating here is The Big Toe. The Big Toe is going to score a C. It's not that scary of a story unless you're really kind of young. It's kind of a humorous premise, finding a toe in the ground and plucking it off someone and eating it and them coming after you. But it is, of the stories that have a scream ending, you can definitely do better. But it's not bad, so it's got a C. Next is The Walk. The Walk is going to get a B. It's a humorous story, but you don't know that until the end, really. It's unfortunately not really versatile, and it can be told really well or kind of poorly. It has a lot of that repetitive element. My man was scared of my uncle. My uncle was scared of that man. He was terribly scared of. So it can be done well or done poorly, but it's a fun thing to throw in the mix. What do you come for? I'm going to give a D. It's a really played out version of a Scream story, or like the most condensed down elements you can think of. Lady alone, something spooky starts happening, and then it screams and jumps at you at the end. It's, you can do a lot better, honestly. Which brings me to the next one, which is going to be Mitai Doty Walker, which is going to score an S. Now, I may be a little biased, but I do love this story. I've done it on this channel. It's the first scary story I did on this channel, as a matter of fact. It's a pleasure to tell, and if your storyteller is good, it can be a pleasure to listen to, even if you've heard it before. One interesting thing about this story is it sort of spoils itself in the beginning. Everyone in this village knows that at midnight a head falls down the chimney, right? So when the character stays overnight in the house, what happens? A freaking head falls down the chimney. But it's still a good story. You still enjoy listening to it. You're watching everything happen, or picturing everything happen as if a head's not going to fall down the chimney, or as if you don't know it. There's the unexpected thing with the dog and the really creepy stuff they're saying and it getting closer. It has a lot of potential to be told really well. It's just a really fun story. The flagship in my mind for this sort of Scream story genre, and it will be a hit. Now, on the other end of the spectrum is A Man Who Lived in Leeds, which is going to get an F. No one's going to walk away from the campfire going, man, when Jimmy told A Man Who Lived in Leeds, man, it just rocked me. No one's going to remember this. It rhymes. It's like, I might have got stabbed. I did get stabbed. Just because it rhymes doesn't make it good. Snooze fest. Next is Old Woman All Skin and Bones. I'm going to give this a C+. The reason I did that, I do have some background with this, actually, and there's one more story here too. When I was in chorus in it was in elementary school, we sang this song and another one in a round. If you don't know what a round is, it's where one person or one group of people starts singing one part of it and goes through, and then another group starts behind them while the other one keeps going. So it just kind of builds. It's really fun to do. It's something that if you wanted to do, that's really the potential it has. So it has good potential, but it would require a lot of things coming together, and maybe a thing for younger readers. But I've had some fun memories with it. I had a good time, and so I'll give it a C+. And now we are on to the next chapter of the book, if you will, called He Heard Footsteps Coming Up the Cellar Stairs. First one is The Thing, which I'm going to give a B. Not the John Carpenter movie. We're telling stories here, people. This is a good story. It's scary to think about, the whole idea of him, becoming a thing at the end, and there's some good visuals of, them going back and he's there. It's a solid story. Yeah, a B tier. Next one's going to be Cold as Clay. Keeping with the C theme, that's what it's going to score. It is kind of played out, that idea of someone coming back from the dead or not knowing they're dead. In this case, they do know the guy's dead. And someone giving them an object, and then they dig him up or they find the body and he has the object on him that was given to him by the live person. And this one doesn't really do anything to add to that genre. C tier. Another C is the White Wolf. What is it about revenge stories where someone who hunts animals getting taken down inevitably, spoiler alert, by a white version of that animal? I mean, this is like Moby Dick stuff. Like, did they invent that? But anyway, that's what happens here. Guy kills wolves, then this white wolf comes and he's like, I'm gonna kill this one last wolf, and he dies. That's okay. See? Now, The Haunted House. This is going to get an A. This is a very solid story. The priest in the story, they're not focusing and dragging the story about and he was so scared, and this ghost is here. But he's, going with it. It makes a very fun read. It makes it a very different type of story, even though it is kind of a longer one. I think it's 3 pages relative to this book. But it feels a lot longer than it is in a good way. A lot happens in it. It sets up the house the preacher goes, and then this eventually finds out it's a woman who was killed, and then he finds the culprit and gets the money, and the fingers were burned into his shirt. And it also has a really satisfying ending, which is sometimes kind of rare, especially in the scary story or horror genre. It's a great one. Can't go wrong with it. Solid story. Bring it. Tell it. A. The Guests. This one's going to get a C+ because although it is of that sort of played out genre, this is like the classic, the OG of and then they went back and the person they met had been dead for years, or the building they were at had burned down. Also there was the object they had left in there was still there. So it is a classic in that regard. And it's a good representative for those genres if you want to tell it, especially if someone hasn't heard any before. Next chapter, They Eat Your Eyes, They Eat Your Nose. Starting off with the Hearst song. And this is going to get a B. And this is another song. And we're grown-ups and we don't sing anymore. I kid. This is another one that I sang in elementary school, in around also. It's funny. It's an absolute classic. It's really solid. It's something you can still have fun with today. Maybe especially younger, but it can still be fun. Now, A Girl Who Stood on a Grave. This one's going to get an A. This is almost a reverse horror story, scary story. It's, the girl, I dare you to stand on the grave. And she goes and you feel something grab her. And she goes, oh my God. And she dies of fright. But it was actually because they had told her to put a knife in the ground. But she had pinned herself there. This story is a refreshing reminder that the true terrors are in our mind. A tier. A New Horse. B. It's funny. It's somehow still not super satisfying. Maybe could have had some more build-up to figuring out what's going on with them. It's just not as satisfying a story, I think, as it could be. But it's not that bad. Maybe it's just me. But I'm going to give it a B. Alligators. E. It's alright. It's not that scary. It's more unfortunate. Like, dang, lady. Sorry about your kids and your husband. Okay, I'm just not really invested. It doesn't get you invested in her or them. E for effort. Room for One More, A tier. Room for One More is going to be an A tier, even though it's that idea of having a premonition and seeing it play out might be kind of played out. But this story, it doesn't feel that way. It has that good build-up. It's still such a relatable thing. And seeing this person say, okay, no thanks, I'll take the next one. And then seeing it actually go wrong, that kind of sticks with you too. Because all the time you go, I got a bad feeling about this, but you still go with it, right? But then after hearing this story, you go, oh my God, well, if he had just ignored his bad feeling, he would have died in the elevator. What do I do? And that's what gives this story a place at the campfire. The Wendigo is going to get an A. Very solid story, except for referring to the entire indigenous people of Canada as Indians. It's still solid plot. It's not predictable. Great for camping, obviously. Has a kind of a slight disturbing element to it somehow. Part of it may be because you're camping while you tell it. But it'll have everyone convinced in their tents that they're hearing their name in the wind at night. It's going to be a lot of fun to think of as you're hearing it. It has a lot of great imagery in it. It's a great story. The Dead Man's Brains, B. This is more of an experience than just a story. This is something that I also did in elementary school. I don't know if like one of these came out when I was in elementary school or something, but we had like a year where we did a lot of stuff with this book. I don't know why. But, you know, we did the whole thing, the setting up all the brains and the eyes are peeled grapes and the guts are spaghetti. And that's just a classic experience. That's why I don't know if I said already B tier. And this experience is kind of a classic. You'll see a TV show and they have a Halloween party and they have little bags with all the things written on them. It's very much become part of the whole Halloween experience. And for that reason, and because it's such a classic, I got to give it a B. Even though it is for a younger audience, it's fun and worth all the effort. Do it with your kids. May I Carry Your Basket? D tier. It doesn't really add anything to your repertoire of stories. Having this one or telling this one, it's not going to add to the night. Also, how the hell is a head going to chase after this guy and bite him on the leg and outrun the body even going after him? Just a bland story. All right. And now we are on to Other Dangers. The Hook, I'm going to give an A- or B+. The Hook, beyond this book, you've probably heard this story. Classic. If you're hearing it for the first time, this is an absolute banger. It resonates, it sticks with you, it's disturbing, it's invading some privacy of your life going around or someone trying to break into your car. It's relatable, and it will always have its place. The White Satin Evening Gown, E. It's another one like the Crocodiles. It's more unfortunate than scary. It kind of tries to be disturbing, but really isn't. It just sucks for this girl who got killed by the dress. Also, it demonizes the poor. E tier. High Beams, another S. This is relatable. It's the classic thing of having someone following you or driving home and being afraid that someone's following you. But with a twist, the guy following you home at night in the truck is the good guy. That's never happened before. It gives a new twist to this very relatable and classic idea of being followed home by a killer, but the killer in this case is actually right behind you, and the fear that you always have of someone being in the back of your car. This freaking story, to this day, makes me scared driving at night, even after I look in the back. This one sticks with you, and it's going to scare people, and you should tell it. Next is The Babysitter. This one's going to get a D, maybe a D+. Man, it is played out. The babysitter or someone home alone, maybe with some kids, not exactly sure what's going on, and they get a phone call. And then they get another phone call, or there's someone, they hang up. And then they're laughing and doing scary stuff. And the ending of this is just not satisfying. And then he moves towards them, and then the cops get him. It's like, okay. It's more like a crazy story you'd hear if it was real from someone, from one of your buddies that happened to him. You can do a lot better. Speaking of doing better, the leading story in our next section, which is but the kind of funny like ha ha ha, is going to be The Viper. The Viper. This one is another S tier. This is how you do that babysitter or the person getting phone calls trope right. It's funny. It's a great time to tell. It's great because it has that twist of having the accent or the way the guy's talking transition into just him saying something ridiculous. I wish to wash and wipe the windows. It's so much fun seeing people's reactions. Please add this story to your campfire playlist. You won't regret it. The Attic, C. This one's getting a C for cringe. It's another one where it's supposed to be funny at the end, but it has instructions like the guy walks into the attic and then and then it goes naturally someone will ask you why did he scream, but no one's gonna do that. They're just gonna be like, okay. If you changed it in a way that said damn nail, should have worn shoes, maybe that could be funny, but it just, I don't think it works. You could do that maybe if there had been movement, like if you're acting out, that could make it a good story. You're walking out, ow! Oh, it's a damn nail. But it's not necessary. Let's not force it. The Slithery D will receive a D. It's cute to look at. It has a cool little progression and little drawings here in the book. But telling it, it's like, but he's just going to say the words out loud. For the record, though, I remember hearing in the audiobook of this, I actually do remember him telling it, and they had a really funny, sound effect. It was like, ah, at the end where it eats the guy. But overall, it's not something you'd really be telling around a campfire. I'll give it a D. Now, Aaron Kelly's Bones. This one is going to be an S. It's funny. It's a great time telling, especially telling it as Aaron. I don't feel dead. I feel fine. And, the guy at the end, the fiddler, widow, I'm going home. It's just goofy. This is how you do a funny, scary story. It's funny throughout the whole thing while still being enjoyable. It'll keep people the whole time. It's great. Wait Till Martin Comes. I'm going to give it D. It's kind of boring. Maybe it might be better for a younger audience. It's there are better stories to make jokes that aren't this long. It feels like kind of the build-up is kind of a waste, and it's just not that memorable. The Ghost with the Bloody Fingers, I'm going to give a C. I feel like this story, the really only way it would work is if you told it like a joke and not a scary story, because it's not really that scary or that satisfying an ending. If it is supposed to be a scary story, it's not enough of a punch to punch through scary story. Now, it was funny the whole time. No, it's not really. It may not fit quite as well in a scary story setting, and that's why I'm giving it a C. All right, damn, I guess that's actually the last of them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it makes you go and dig up your own copy of this book, and it better be one with the drawings, the drawings. I would love to do this again with the other 2 books. I really hope you guys enjoy it, and look out for those soon. These are just classic stories. These are what got me into not just scary stories, but into telling stories, or made me realize I love doing that, and which has got me into voice acting, which has got me into making this video here right now. If you haven't read this book yet, then why'd you watch this video and just let me spoil them all for you? Shame on you. Don't do that for the other 2 books I'll do in the next videos. If you haven't read this book yet, check it out. You got to. It's a classic. Hopefully you guys can get together with some friends once quarantine's over, have some nice fires, go camping, and tell some scary stories. I'm Ryan Rich. Thank you for joining me today, and I can't wait to see you again.